In studio with me, as always, is Comrade Dr. Pastor Trevor Ntlhola. Trevor, are you well?
I'm okay. And you?
I'm lekker. So I've got one question for you before we introduce our guest, and that is, have you ever met a convicted terrorist, racist, turned pastor, writer before?
No, I'm looking forward to hear that.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let me introduce you to Stefaans. Stefaans, it's such a privilege to have you on set, and I'm very excited to dive into your story. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. So Stefaans, just a few preliminaries. You are based in Klerksdorp, am I right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're a Klerksdorp boy, and originally from Winburg.
Originally born in Kuruman, to Vrystaat, Virginia, and to Winburg, the orphanage.
Okay, wonderful. And then we're going to dive into your story. So your story is fascinating, it's very encouraging, and we need to do it chronologically. And as we continue, then Trevor and I will ask for clarification and just sort of interrupt you. But let's start off with your childhood, which is not a bad place to start. So help us through that. You were raised initially in Winburg. What are some of your earliest childhood memories?
So my first memory that I always remember is when I was 5 years old. My mom gave me money to buy sweets, and when I come back from the shop, she was gone. She never kissed me, she never hugged me, she never greeted me. So as a 5 years old boy, you don't understand divorce, you don't understand. You look for the mistake
in
yourself. And my father was an alcoholic, and he used to work in prison, so he was tattooed full of prison tattoos. So when he come back from work, he will start drinking, and we will run around the block. And when he's very drunk, I will take Cokie pens and color him in. But if someone is drunk, you can move the body and color in. Yeah. So, but even if he's an alcoholist, he was really my hero.
Really? Okay. And at 5 years old, you come back, you don't see your mom again, but your dad was still around.
Yeah.
Even if he wasn't.
Yeah. For me, he was my hero because he was there. My mom left. He stayed.
Okay. All right. But eventually you end up in an orphanage.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
So my father drank a lot. Like I said, he was alcoholic, and the social workers feel that he was not in the power to look after us. So I was moved to an orphanage.
Okay, and where was this orphanage?
In Winburg. That's how I ended up in Winburg,
gotcha.
in a child house, the orphanage.
Okay. Now, as an orphan growing up, I mean, what were some of the emotions that you were wrestling with?
So the first thing is this: you wonder, with all these millions of people around the world, how bad must you be that your own parents even don't love you? They don't want you.
Sure.
And you learn the rules of orphanage. You fight for everything you want in life. You eat first, you eat hard, and whenever someone hits you down, you stand up. You always stand up. Even if you lose the fight, you always stand up.
Sure.
Yeah, this is very intense. Now, at some point you were radicalized. I mean, this is obviously in the apartheid era. I want to say most white people would have had some sort of racist tinge to them, but for you it went further. Tell us more about that.
So it started on school. In school, I had a lot of anger, a lot of hurt, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And in school, if you fight, you go to the principal, get a hiding. And on Fridays and Saturday night, I went to the street and looked for black people and assaulted them. They didn't do anything wrong. I just assaulted them. But later on, it was not enough. Then it was Wednesdays, Fridays, Saturdays. And later, every day in a week, I just went out and beat
up black people?
Black people.
At random?
Yeah, you remember the AWB's motto was white by night.
AWB as in Afrikaner Weerstand Beweging.
Okay. Yes. And we were brought up in a apartheid regime where it was always we and them, us and them. We were brought up, the ANC killed us, there was always in the school the things of the bombings. Even after a bomb attack, we will evacuate the school to exercise what we must do if the enemy attacks us. There was pop-ups with hand grenades and lined mans and kleefmyne. So we must now know how it looks the weapons of the enemy.
And it was actually quite exciting.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
And
dealing with this potential threat.
Ja, ja, and remember in my time Boetie wou border toe gegaan het.
the
Every
movie,
Thursday it was kadetklere, ons het gemaats. And if you have asked any boy my age who wanted to be in the military or the police, that's how we were brought up. And daai tyd daar was nog die voortrekkers ook. So we were brought up very nationalist. You were proud to be who you are.
Just give me a time frame. What year are we in?
Late 80s, and I remember when I was standard 6, President Nelson Mandela, but he was not president that time, was released from prison. And uncertainty what will happen, because most of the white people thought, now they are going to get us back. With, on that time, 93, the military trained some of the AWU members. It was very us and them. The bomb attacks were real on both sides. The killing were real on both sides.
Just quick intervention. That same time frame, where are you?
This will be 90. Yeah, I was in my 20s. And then by that time, the township was bad. It was during the time when there was this so-called black-on-black violence. Yeah, so I think it was that time.
Okay, and you
but
yourself?
we were excited that the country has changed, but we know we needed something better than that. It was unfolding in front of our eyes. It was exciting.
And at this stage, you were also quite political, throwing a few stones.
Yeah, growing in the township, you're caught up in that whole thing.
And this is yesterday. It's actually it's crazy. It's really not
30 years ago.
30 years ago. All of these things were happening.
Yeah.
All right.
The one thing the government made mistake from both sides, they never prepared us for change. Remember, just the previous election is always they will never rule, Nelson Mandela will never be released. And suddenly the change was there. We were never prepared that we were taught to hate someone, and now we must be taught, untaught, to love each other.
Yeah, such an uncertain time, wasn't it? It's quite incredible.
Sure. You sure? Sure.
Yeah, man, you sure?
Yes, I am sure. Look at this thing. It's presidential. What if we get caught, man? Nobody gets caught in South Africa, man.
That's true.
Now lift. I'm sure.
Don't just be sure. Be sure. King Price ain't sure. Insurance you can be sure about. Visit kingprice.co.za.
Welcome back to this fascinating conversation with Trevor and Stefaans. We're in the late 80s, early 90s. You guys spoke about your earliest memories. I'm a young boy by then. I know the baldness looks like I'm 80, but I'm a young boy at that stage. And I wasn't raised in a particularly racist household in any overt sense of the word. But I remember in that time sitting outside of school, early primary school, and there was this song that we sang. And it was a very offensive song, and it was Strawberry lippe, forgive me for this, Strawberry lippe, die kaffers gooi klippe, Mandela gaan suffer want hy is 'n kaffer.
Yeah.
Which,
In
if you translate it, it's there was a song that's on Strawberry Lips, and it was sort of a rendition of that. I'm just going to say the blacks are not the blacks, the K word.
Yeah.
They are toy-toying, and Mandela will suffer because he is the K word.
Yeah.
I mean, those were the type of things that we were saying without even being radicalized at that stage. So it was such a crazy, extremist time. All right. At that stage, Stefaans, you take us a little bit further into your orphanage high school life, so to speak. You spoke about just going out in the streets and just randomly hitting black people. Eventually, that became a little bit more formal. You joined the group.
Yeah, so I was brought up very political, noticeable. I really know what happens in a country political-wise. I even remember the day when Chris Hani was shot.
Sure. When was that? 92?
No, 93 on 10 April. And so for us it was very difficult.
Yeah.
Brought on white people because we were used to ons is baas. A black person will tell me as a little white guy, klein baasie. And I never called him uncle. And suddenly they want to take away that identity. And so we are equal. I remember when I was in church, there's a board that say, God is liefde, God is love. A black man were not allowed to be in the church. If he's in the church, he must be on his knees and he cannot pray, he must clean.
Yeah.
That's the way we were brought up, and suddenly they said it's equal. It was difficult.
You know the story, Stefaans, sorry for interrupting you, but this racist church, early 90s, and this guy takes a friend to just go see the facility, and here's this black lady on her knees in front of the altar, in front of, not the altar, what do you call it, like the lectern, the pulpit. And this guy says, "What are you doing?" And she stands up and she's got a cloth in her hand. She says, "No, I'm cleaning you." She says, "Oh, thank goodness, I thought you were praying." Okay, no, carry on. Yeah. So it was insane.
Yes, and remember, we were taught they are not equal. The lady in your house can prepare the food. She can look after you. She can carry you on her back, but she's not allowed to eat with you.
Yeah. Oh, and if she eats, it must be in something tin, like this, actually.
Yes. and
I wanted to ask you, sorry to go back, I wanted to ask you, when you had an orphanage, who actually radicalized you? Was it before you went to the orphanage or at the orphanage?
In the orphanage, because remember, the orphanage is part of the government. You need to go to church. Yeah. And in the church you learn, but also orphanage kids is a little bit more harder than kids with parents.
Okay.
We learn to fight, we learn to do, we learn to stand together.
So you were radical, even though you weren't even politically radical, just by virtue of being in an orphanage, you're radical.
You are radical. But also remember, we don't have parents, we don't have family, so we want to belong somewhere. Yeah. And the only place we can belong is to the white race, because we don't have anything else. The white race becomes your family.
Your identity.
It becomes your identity.
So to compensate for this lack of family, that lack of, you said your mom never hugged you or kissed you, to compensate for that, you hold on to this whiteness, this white supremacist.
That's the only thing I have, because I have nothing else.
Yeah, just for me to understand, what are the words, what are the phrases at that young age that they said to you about black people?
You remember we were brought up in a time where black people were monkeys, they cannot think, they cannot do. And then the K-word was prominent in church, in school, in politics, and even our history. Remember, we didn't learn the history like today. We were taught history one-sided. Yeah. And in the Afrikaans class, all the famous poets, this big part of them was because of the hatred of the English. So patriotism was very part of Afrikaans. And as a young boy, you have nothing, but when you go to the shop, there's a queue for white people and black people. Even if you are an orphanage boy, you are a little bit better than...
So you just feel a little bit of identity there.
Just a little bit better than...
Even though nobody wants you, at least there, you've got a sense of purpose or identity, so to speak. Okay.
Have you met a black person at the close level at that time?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Remember, they were not with us in schools, they were not with us friends. It was only later something happened.
Like in the garden, they were not working, domestic workers?
In the orphanage they were, but remember, we were kids, we're not mingling with them. And in only later on, before I went to prison, there was something that happened that triggered me. We were playing and we didn't like our neighbors, so we threw them with tomatoes. And then a black man passed and he picked up the tomatoes to eat. And that really shocked me. Yeah, I'm throwing food away. And he's picking it up.
And that image stuck, eh?
And that stuck. It didn't change me but I always will remember that. That is the one thing that really was. The first time that I really interact with prison, with black people, were in prison.
Okay, whoa, you're getting ahead of the story. You're giving spoilers here.
This was many years later.
So, as a 17-year-old, if I'm not mistaken, you plant a bomb.
It's actually 19.
19,
but you must remember, we started with sabotage. But
with what?
Sabotage,
okay.
But normally when you blow up a kragmas of a treinspoor, you get a small page on page 3. And we want people to hear our story. So that
Who's us?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's at that time there was a movement, we call it Boereaanvalstroepe. The reason for that was
Which translates to Farmer Attack Corps.
something like that.
It doesn't
yeah.
translate very good. But
No,
okay.
it doesn't. Remember that all IDW members and Boereweerstandbeweging, all the Boere Lamikainsele, all the members were known to the police. So if you create a false movement, the police are looking for something new. They don't know where to start. You can, if you look in the past 94, every now and then there's new movements. It's only to distract the police for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the name is nothing.
Okay.
It's still go back to the basics. All of us flow out of the AWB.
It's like a tactic.
Yeah. Even
So,
though
so it's a wing of the AWB,
Yeah.
and you guys called yourselves.
yeah, we're just a breakaway wing.
Breakaway wing.
Even a Witwolwe.
Okay.
When
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
formed, the original members
Yes.
were part of the IWB.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's take a short break there, and we'll get back to learn a little bit more about the Witwolwe. Welcome back. We are talking to Stefaans and Trevor. Stefaans, you were busy sharing about the Witwolwe, which now became sort of this loose affiliation. Later dubbed a terrorist group, but probably something that you guys saw yourselves as what? Like a resistance group towards this democratization process, I imagine.
Yeah, so what happened in that time, you must remember there was also already a lot of violence from the white side. On 15 November 1988, Baden Strijdom killed the people on Strijdom in he was called the Witwolwe.
Just walking into
The
that
street,
place with his pistol and just shooting black people at random.
Yes, and then there was a few bomb attacks by the Witwolwe. Some of them were detonated by vlakplaas. And Generaal Tini Groenewald, his son, killed people, the Witwolwe-moorde. And the Orde van die Dood, there was a lot of shootings, both sides. So it was, and then you must also remember that the Israel Vision were popping up everywhere.
So the Israel Vision being this theological cult, basically, that just had like a deeply racist theology. Am I right?
Yeah, see, you must remember the only thing that a race is short to murder is religion.
Oh, wow.
Sure.
The hatred is there.
Wow.
He's only afraid to go to
A divine
hell.
mandate. He wants
So
a divine
if you
mandate.
reread the Bible in a certain way, they misquoted Bible verses. For example, Jeremiah 48 verse 10, that curse is the one who with his hold his sword from blood. So if you misquote the Bible, it's almost like the extreme Muslims. Then you are blessed if you kill someone.
Oh, goodness.
And most of the breakaway movements that broke away adopted this religion. So not everyone who part of the Israel Vision is part of the Witwolwe and EXA, but everyone of the Witwolwe is part of the Israel Vision.
There we go. And this Israel Vision, I know one of parts of their theology is that the lost tribes of Israel magically found their way on a ship to the southern point of Africa, and at one point the Afrikaner race is this lost tribes of Israel. I'm not sure if you belong to that specific.
No, that's all of us as in Afrikaans is the uitverkiesing. It's
the chosen people.
The
of God.
chosen people. It's how we word it, and then there's three versions, and it will be too long to discuss it. But where the other people of the race come from, because remember, only God can create. Satan cannot create.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So, in other words, black people were
We were.
animals that just sort of evolved versus created humans being white and Afrikaners in particular.
We were the Gentiles.
Worse
than the Gentiles.
Yeah.
They were the animals of the field.
Sure. That is insane.
Do you think even today, I'm sorry, do you think today people still like that?
There's a lot of people like that.
In 2025?
And 2025. You must remember, if we jump time, when I came out, I was surprised to see how many racism is still alive.
When you came out of prison?
Yeah, because I thought after all these years we live in Eden. But I realized, and three things make people to adopt a religion. And it's only when you talk to them, you tell them you're angry and disappointed, you are not a racist. It's beerkrag, potholes and corruptie.
Repeat again.
Load shedding,
Load shedding,
Load shedding.
potholes, and corruption.
and corruption. And because
no.
of that,
Yeah.
people think they are racist because you will hear they always say
Yeah.
it was better.
Yeah.
It was not.
It was not. It
Go
was
to
not.
the township and you will find it
Yeah.
was not better.
Yeah.
But you're getting ahead of us.
It's the question.
Stefaans. So now you guys, as this sect or grouping, the Witwolwe, decide that you're going to take it up. You're going to take it up, and you're going to plant bombs.
Yeah. So let's call it a group because all of the members were of different groups.
Okay.
Yeah, but the religion was the base.
Okay.
So there was a farm attack in 96 that was the trigger.
Okay.
People were killed very brutally.
White people were killed on the farm.
Very brutally, and it's, remember, we were brought up, us and them.
Yeah.
And we decided it's time to kill. They kill us, we must kill them. And remember, that was only the excuse. Because we already wanted
You
to kill,
wanted,
we already had the weapons, we already had the explosive, the training. We're only waiting for...
You wanted a trigger.
We wanted a trigger, and that was our trigger.
Okay.
And then the ANC have detonated the bomb in 93 on 23 December, almost in 20, and we decided we will revenge the bomb in Worcester on 24 December
Okay. Sure. 1996.
96.
So exactly 3 years later.
No, 83 to 96.
Oh, sorry.
Remember, you can use
83.
anything as excuse to justify, and most terrorists connect bombs to other dates in the past.
Yeah, I wanted to say something.
Go for it.
The word terrorist, it's always been associated with Muslims, with blacks. So to sit with someone who's white, who now in retrospect sees himself as a terrorist, for me it's very interesting.
I actually wanted to quote,
Yes.
to name my one book, White Terrorist,
Wow.
because for the same reason.
Yeah.
We don't see white people as terrorists. And you can even say, if you look on social media, all terrorists must die.
Yeah.
What about me?
Yeah.
No, but you are a hero, you must get a medal. I'm a
Yeah.
terrorist.
Yeah.
And we must never forget it.
Yeah. Johan,
Not only that, he was the first terrorist tried under the new constitution. So it's far more interesting. You're a you were our original terrorist.
Yeah.
Now, take us to Worcester in 1996.
So I want to step just something small back. The other people didn't really want to kill. Me and Cliff really wanted to. But there was group pressure. So then we only built 2 bombs. And then Mark came and he said also wanted to plan a bomb. I really tried to get him out of this, but he wants to be part of this, let's call it manhood. It's not the right word, but...
Yeah.
And he went, and his bomb never detonated. He brought it to the car.
At that time you said you were 19, right?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And I remember I was brought up hard. I had anger. I was a killer.
Yeah.
And this was my moment that I'm fighting for my people, my
Yeah.
yeah. And Jan, who was supposed to detonate the first bomb, I waited for him long because he was afraid. But he was more afraid to go back with the bomb.
Oh, okay.
Then he detonated, but he never wanted to detonate it. I always said I waited long for him because that was the sign. I never hesitated.
Wow.
For me, it was, this is why I'm here. But what is interesting is, after I heard children died, I changed.
Okay, wait. You plant the bomb in ShopRite in Worcester in the Western Cape. Am I right?
Okay, Jan detonated his bomb in ShopRite. So normally in a terrorist, you detonate 1 bomb, and then the police cordon the place, and then 3 minutes later, the second bomb to cause more panic.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was the second bomb.
And where was that?
Naruptam Aptek, so it's in front of a church, but close to the court and the police station. The idea is if the police go out, they will move to the next target, and then a bomb will explode.
Now, did the police catch you? How did it unfold after the bombings?
So we went back. There was some miscommunication. People thought it's robberies. Rashid Staghi was in Shoprite, and some people thought it's an attempted assassination on his life. So we bypassed the padblokkades, roadblocks. But on the way, I heard that the children died.
On the radio?
On the radio. And remember, in my dreams to become this Boere hero, I never thought we will kill children. And I know with a bomb you must think about it, but no one prepared you.
Yeah, you're young. Yeah.
And 21 days later, I handed myself over to the police. And I told them, I will stand for everything, but I don't testify. And it was because of the children.
Somehow that moved you to hand yourself over.
Yeah, that was, I remember when Albert told me, because I told him and he said, you must get geruggraat. I never thought if you look in...
So you told one of your fellow
friends.
Terrorist friends,
Yeah.
and they said you must toughen up, and you just couldn't. You had to...
No, I told him and he said to go to the police. Because remember, I'm turning against everything that I was taught, everything I believe.
Yeah.
I'm going to hand myself over, expose the movement. Because of children.
Yeah. Why that? Because these are black kids.
That is the strange thing that I never knew. And until today, I cannot understand why the kids moved me.
Yeah.
Because I was brought up to hate. And I remember Cliffy used to say, a snake is a snake. If it's big or small, a snake is a snake. But for me, the children was the turning point.
I need to tell a story of my daughter. We went to the TRC event. I mean, for those who don't know, TRC is the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. So we went and sat there, and then she was shocked. She must have been 12 or so, and then she couldn't believe someone killed the kids. You know, I'd forgotten. Certainly it was not you, but I remember it was one of the guys. And then my daughter looked at me, she went like, so if I was alive then, was I going to be killed? And then I said, yes. And then she says, I think, Babzo, she calls me Babzo. Babzo, I think we must go and kill them. I said, yes. We're going to start with your friends, because she was going to a multiracial school, you know, and then she paused because she realized, you know, So I'm just saying the whole thing of the kids, you know, it's so real, and then it moved you, and then you handed yourself. Yeah.
And Stefaans, this is 1996, and you go into jail. Is there anything that moved you in your heart, except the fact that it was kids that were part of the victims?
Remember that I saw myself as this hero who's going to sacrifice, like President Mandela, my life for my people.
Yeah.
So you going to jail was not necessarily you thinking of yourself as somebody who's now changed because of this one thing that happened. You are still seeing yourself as a martyr to the Afrikaner.
Yeah, I'm still a racist. I still believe I only regret the life of children. Remember, most of your racists, if you talk to us, we are very arrogant.
Okay, that is fascinating. Stefaans, you're just going to have to come back, because obviously you are here and we are not filming this in prison, meaning that you got out of prison, so something changed, and for that we need another episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Trevor, thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you. Love it.
That's all the time we have left in this episode of Fight, Unite or Flee. In this episode we focused more on the fight and the flee bit. And in the next episode, we will focus more on the unite bit as we continue with the Stefaans Coetzee story. This is not just a conversation between me, Trevor, and Stefaans, it's also a conversation with you, so be sure to comment, and we would love to hear from you.